now I think. So, first of all, before starting it formally, I think it appropriate to thank the organizers to organize for this very much needed discussion on a very sensitive but very controversial topic. And then I would like to thank the Society of Obstetric and Gynecology Pakistan as well as the Pediatric Endocrinology Society to come up with the Association of Pediatric Surgeons of Pakistan for this very sensitive topic. And we look forward to a very fruitful discussion today regarding, as Dr. Haris has mentioned, for the issues and the way forward. So, as our residents are also present in this hall, so just the introduction that DST is a term which they heard quite commonly, as in their outpatients they used to see the walk-in patients. But before this is a long history of DST that starting from the very derogatory terms of like ambiguous sex, ambiguous genitalia, intersex, till today that relatively decent or reasonable term of DST, that is disorder of sexual differentiation, or in some recent literature the term VSD has been coined, that is the variation in sexual differentiation. At multiple levels it has been studied and tried to be studied thoroughly at the level of the chromosome, at the level of the gonads, and at the level of the hormones. Thorough workup for these patients is a routine at every department, but most of the time the treating pediatrician and endocrinologist and the treating pediatric surgeon ends up in sometimes a dilemma situation that what to do. Because whenever we present, we have seen that the presentation regarding DST starts with that, is it a boy or a girl? But I think that today we will touch upon the questions like, I don't want to be a girl, or I don't want to be a boy, or can it be a girl, or can it be a boy? These are questions for the patients and their parents who present sometimes quite late. So I would like to inform about the format that regarding every panelist we have shared a format so that we shouldn't be missing any aspect of this topic, which needs very elaborate discussion, but in this short time we could cover as much as possible. So starting with the first, I would like to indulge our pediatric endocrinologist, Professor Dr. Mohsina. May I have your attention, Dr. Mohsina?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
So, with your vast experience, the audience would like to know that generally, what are the parental concerns when you declare that the baby is a DST patient and this is the condition?
Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you for inviting me, all my pediatric surgeons, my friends. Day before yesterday, I was taking the round. There was a patient in the ward with ambiguous genitalia. The father was a teacher in madrasa, and he told me that on first ultrasound, the child was declared as female, and on the second ultrasound, the child was declared as male. So it started before the child was born. And when the child was born, the child had ambiguous genitalia. Now they were stuck. They had told everyone that the child, they named him as a boy, and Tasmi Akika was done immediately. And after that, the child landed in our hospital with severe dehydration and with ambiguous genitalia. And it was virilized female with CH. So these days in, days out, we are having these kind of patients, and they really refer to us late. Now the parents have so many concerns that we need some time and to decide that this is a male or a female child. So my point is that not only it's a social emergency, but it is a medical emergency also. And the parents are very anxious that we have told everyone that the child is a boy, now what to do. So similarly, we have so many cases, and now the thing that I want to give the message that we need some time. Although the pressure was too much, the family was not that literate, but we need some time, and it's that I've told them, we have told them that it will take some time, and we will let you know that what is it. Although it was all classical CAH. So the first point is that we need some time to declare the sex, and we should not hurry. And the second time, the parents concerned, we have told everyone that it's like that, but we have, after a few days, we have told them that they can change the name and they can rear the child as a female, and with proper treatment, it can be managed easily. So, avoid immediate declaration is the first message which I want to give, and investigations, thorough investigations, and after that, we can declare about the sex of rearing, and of course, finally, we need to tell the patients about the medical treatment, and later on, surgeons would get involved, and the proper surgical treatment is addressed. So initially, if we tell the parents that we need some time, we need some stepwise management, stepwise investigations and management, then the parents understand this, how much, whatever is the level of literacy, they understand this, and they give us time, and they give us, they trust us, and if we explain them properly. But the issue is that it was initially not picked up. It was picked up after 15 to 20 days. And believe me, it is very early. Otherwise, patients come very late. So if we explain the patient, whatever their concerns are, that what will the family say, what will the social surroundings say, you can imagine what are the surroundings they are living in. So if you explain them properly, then they listen to you, then they wait for you, and then they wait for the investigation event, and then they can change the name later on, not at that moment. So my message is this: we need to work together, and there is no hurry in it. There is no hurry in any surgery or anything like that. First, we need to counsel about the whole issue and the whole scenario in totality, and then later on we can.
So, but I got that you go with the flow and work on the patient, and at every stage you explain the patient. So here comes the next question: that do you explain the total situation yourself, or at every step you involve your pediatric psychologist, or they step in at a later stage? And then I would like to have the opinion at the same time from the psychologist.
Usually in the newborn age, it's very difficult to involve this psychologist. The parents are very much burdened about the investigations and everything. They need some time to accept the situation. And then if there is family anxiety, too much anxiety, then we usually involve the psychiatrist at that time. But the patients who are coming at later age, like at 10 years, this is coming at the age of 10 years with ambiguity and 46XX reared as a boy. So then we usually involve the psychiatrist in the initial phases also, or complete androgen insensitivity, which are reared as girls. So we involve the psychiatrist at that point in time.
So maybe ask the psychologist that, what do you think that your involvement should be early, or at a later stage when we have decided about the genetic sex and the sex of rearing as well? So
this is a nice question. First of all, thank you so much for arranging such a nice conference. Particularly, answer to your question, when you see that the family is in crisis or the child is in crisis, right? When you are planning for something and you see that they are facing some kind of issues, then I think referral to a psychiatrist should be made, right? So then we go with the flow. What we do agree with the multidisciplinary team actually, whatever steps we take. So if there is issue, for example, the child is 5 years old or 6 years old and they do know about their gender and their gender role and their social involvement. So the take-home message is, if you see that they develop some kind of behavioral issues, right, in children, or the family faces some kind of difficulties. So I think referral to mental health professionals should be considered.
Thank you so much. So, taking the advantage of presence of a pediatric surgeon on the panel, Dr. Tayyaba. So, Dr. Tayyaba, as Dr. Mohsina has mentioned that there is no hurry. But what is like your experience and what challenges you face for an early presentation and a late presentation regarding their surgical reconstruction?
Thank you very much, Nabila, and the organizing committee for this panel discussion. The question you asked that do I agree with the early surgery or the late surgery if I get a patient with DST? Yeah? This is what you are asking. So
Especially in reference to like the most common presentation is
yes,
CAH.
the most common is either CAH or AIS, androgen insensitivity syndrome. Mostly what happens that CAH patient present early to us, and the criteria which we follow, which protocol which we have devised over the period of time, looking at different patients and the experiences while doing surgeries, what we found out that there are two things which we need to focus upon. First is the age, and the other is the type of the anomaly. Either it is a low type CAH, low type vaginal confluence, or high type. So what we found over the period of time that low type is the one which can be operated upon in the early age. And the age limit which we have devised is 1 year of age. Before 1 year, initially we started doing it, but what we found out, the reconstructive surgery was not that easy because the muscle mass, the anatomy was not that clear that we could easily operate upon these patients. So 1 year was the cut-off age at which age we operated upon. And the low confluence is usually easily achievable from below through the perineal injury. But obviously beforehand we do perform certain investigations, and getting the results of those investigations we operate upon these patients. Delayed surgeries are usually on those patients who have high type anomaly. And in that connection, lately we have started discussing patients with Dr. Halima that once the child grows up, I mean the girl is grown up and she has issues with it, with the genital tract, we always ask us that it is better to send the patients to me earlier. Because we have seen complications of the surgeries as well when we are doing early surgeries, especially the vaginal stenosis, which was seen. Because the most important and the most problematic thing which we found during our these follow-ups is that the compliance of the patients. Because these patients are not compliant, they do not come to us in the OPDs, in the follow-ups regularly. So that is the most important part which we need to focus upon. Even when we have done the surgeries, we don't know sometimes because patients do not come up or they do not show up later on. So I am the proponent of doing early surgeries in kids who have got low type anomalies.
Okay, thank you. So, as we have mentioned that you people have started taking on board gynecologists. So generally, as we go through the earlier literature, it is said once that though it is a multidisciplinary team approach in the management of the DST, but as the pediatrician and pediatric specialists like pediatric surgeon and pediatric urologist are more versed with the pediatric pathophysiology and anatomy, so they can deal it with better. But it's heartening to see that the concept of multidisciplinary approach is now more in practice, and our gynecology obstetric colleagues are on board. So I would like to have an opinion from Dr. Halima and Dr. Ifat Ahmed that from how long they have started seeing these patients and what's their experience and what challenges they face.
Actually, these kids or these adolescent girls come to us once either they are either pre-pubertal or its puberty has been achieved, but it's the pain in lower abdomen which comes up. And the second type of presentation is just after getting married, when the challenges of copulation and sexual debut comes in. So at that point in time, the children who are treated at an earlier age, or those who have had surgeries done when they were kids, present to us with massive fibrosis. So, and there is literally no space left for us to do the McIndoe, which is the most commonly done procedure all over still. So usually we see with these problems, number one. Number two is they have grown up now. The gender which was assigned to them when they were 1 year old was the gender which the parents wanted them to get into. But when they have grown up, they have gone into an adult life. They have their own brain growth, their psychological growth, their body growth. They might want to change the gender role. Even that is also one presentation with which they come up to us. So this is what we have to say regarding this, that how do they present to us? They present to us with a mass, pain abdomen with menstruation, inability to have intercourse, poor vaginal space left, and wanting to change their gender role. These are usual presentations when they come to gynae clinics. Dr. Ifat, if you would like to add to it.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Association of Pediatric Surgeons, first of all, for inviting me today, and it's an honor to represent my society, the Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology. With regards to DSD, we normally see them at a later age during puberty, when they fail to menstruate or with delayed puberty. And they sometimes also present with the request of reversal of what has been done in the earlier age, I mean the reversal of the surgery, because again, as Dr. Lima mentioned, that they want to change their gender identity, especially in cases of CAH, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. So these girls are so much realized that even their brain has been affected by the hormones they are carrying. So to us, if they present primarily, for example, the CAIS, that is complete androgen insensitivity, or with again this CAH. So if they present with primary amenorrhea. If they have not been operated in an earlier age. And what I want to mention here as well is, for me, it's very important to diagnose them first, because we all know that DSD is the discrepancy between the genetic and gonadal and somatic gender. So first of all, we need to identify the problem, because the decision changes with every other thing. I mean, for a patient with complete androgen insensitivity and a Swyer syndrome, their decision for gonadectomy is totally different. Whenever we have a dysgenetic gonads, for example in Swyer syndrome or even in Turner syndrome, whenever we have a dysgenetic gonad, a streak gonad, there is no second opinion. We need to go straight for gonadectomy. While in CAS, complete androgen insensitivity, where they are carrying a complete dust test. So the coming up literature says that we need to wait till they attain the full bone maturity. Similarly, for the patients who are not having their vaginas, again in cases of complete androgen insensitivity and MRPH, although it's not a DSD, but again we need to operate upon these girls. So there's no hurry in operating upon them till they decided for starting their sexual or marital life. So again, for a decision to make, they need to know what's happening to them. There is no hurry in creating vagina at the age of 1 or 2 years. And last but not the least, which we all are discussing here, is mainly the clitoromegaly or the mucus genitalia. So again, if it's Prader 1 or 2, there is no, no need to go for corrective surgeries when there is a very less of the deformities. But anything beyond Prader 3, I think then we can think of it. And again, we can wait till they grow up and can decide for themselves.
So, as I got that you are a proponent of delayed surgery.
It depends on the diagnosis again. For example,
Okay, so for complete androgen insensitivity syndrome and congenital adrenal hyperplasia, the most two commonly occurring varieties and presenting varieties, what is your opinion? And till now, maybe ask that what is your experience regarding the number of patients you have faced?
I always say that the only thing we trust in is God. Rest of the things need evidence to prove themselves. So if the evidence comes up that the gonad is needed for the bone growth and to attain full somatic growth, then we can monitor these kids. There is no hurry to take those gonads up. Moreover, if vagina is needed for copulation, what a 1-year child would do with that copulating organ? So let them grow up. As the evidence says, let them grow in their brains, in their bodies, and then we can opt for surgeries. I'm not saying that if it's something which is mutilating their body, and if they have some urinary or bowel problems along with that, then corrective surgery is just to divert the cloaca and bladder might be needed at that time to take care of their life and death issues. But for gender assignment, waiting till adulthood is the coming of evidence. So we can't say what I am proponent of or what is my experience. My experience and my proponency would change the way evidence comes up.
Evidence definitely, Dr. Nilima, thank you
Sorry,
so
I was
much for
trying to-
elaborating. And evidence definitely comes from me and you and all other our colleagues working internationally. So here again comes the question, same time from your explanation, that being sitting here in Pakistan, in our social setups, what is your opinion about these patients and especially their families? Their position in the society if they have a child with undetermined sex when they go to get admission into the schools and they introduce their kid into the family and extended family. So I would like to have your opinion, same time the social welfare opinion and again the psychiatrist opinion in this particular aspect of this DST. Sure, please.
Acha, exactly. Just the thing is that if you are diagnosing the child at the age of 1 month with CH, and there are so many issues, the medical issues, the investigations are costly, the medicines are not freely available, and then the parents' life is in misery. That they wanted their child, उनका बच्चा जैसे normal बच्चा है वैसे लगे. At that point in time, the parents are the persons who are looking after the child, and that is why the pressure of the society, the pressure of the family is there. And obviously some of them has problems in micturition and other problems regarding and the parents want to have a normal looking genitalia even for the girls, if the CH girls are there. And then they definitely support the clitoral recession at the early phase so that the parents and the family life becomes easy. So in CH, I would say that at least a normal looking genitalia for a female can be done. Later on, vaginoplasty can be done later on in the life. So this is regarding CH. And usually complete androgen insensitivity present late when they are grown-ups. And they usually, I still remember one case that there were twins. Both were congenital adrenal complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. One of the twins decided to be changed as male, and one of the girls decided to remain as a female. So complete androgen insensitivity is a total different scenario. Rather, CH is different. CH, the girls can have normal cycles if they are well controlled. I know the life is not easy for the CH girls even. They need to have complete medications on time, compliance is the issue, cost is the issue, medicines are very costly. But even then, if you change them at early in their life becomes easy for the patients and for the family. So for the CH, I think the early surgery, especially the clitoral recession, should be done at early stage of life. Later on, we can have the vaginoplasty and the later on surgery. So again, the point is that we have to individualize the patient status, the patient scenario, the patient setup, surrounding setup. So after that, we can decide about the surgery.
So I just want to add something here. Thank you so much for your valuable comments, especially Dr. Halima Yasmin. Okay, the thing is, when we are of 2 years, right, we start identifying our gender, right, with our anatomical sex. So a doctor plays a role in between three important factors. On my one hand, cultural factors. On the other hand, what medical ethics says, right? And in between, what are the feelings of family and patient. So we have to take all of these three things in a circle, and then we have to play our role, right? So now it depends when the child is presenting, right? And if you are changing gender, or if you are assigning gender with surgical intervention or some whatever, right? In the same child, if in future complaints why the same was, why you did the same, right? So it depends on medical emergency. I was going through some article yesterday in European journal. It was written that it depends on medical emergency, right? कि जिंदगी कितनी महफूज है अगर मेडिकल इंटरवेंशन आप तब करें if there are life crisis, right? If there are risks, then you can go with intervention. So this is what medical ethics says. But if you think that the things can be postponed, right? This is not a game of only one session. It requires multiple sessions. It requires your therapeutic alliance with the family, how the family is comfortable, like the way you are doing, like, and how you are explaining the things. So, after when the child is at the age of 5 to 6 years old, then they start thinking, they get satisfied with their gender or not, right? So the things then get more and more stabilized. So I think if we can wait, we must wait, right? So that the informed consent should be taken from the child as well. So this was the point I wanted to mention here.
So I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Sana as well, and especially in regard to operating upon patients and their adjustment in the society and their families.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is the first time I'm getting to sit in such a beautiful panel, and I have a lot of people in front of me, and my assumption is that everybody knows the difference between sex and gender. So I am an intersex educator, and today I have a huge responsibility on my shoulders to bring to you the voice of intersex people. Why I use this term is because although biological sex has traditionally been seen as binary, but we are way more complicated. We come in a lot of varieties. Not every variety is a disease. The DSD acronym originally referred to disorders of sex development, but intersex community members have made it clear that the term disorders is pathologizing and demeaning. The outdated terms hermaphrodite, pseudo-hermaphrodite, and ambiguous genitalia are experienced as stigmatizing and hurtful. By no means I want to discourage you. You guys are doing an amazing job. You are trying to save people. But we need to distinguish between what is cosmetic and what is life-saving. There are at least 40 recognized variations in sex characteristics. Not all variations have a specific diagnosis. And when I speak this from the United Nations fact sheet for intersex community. It is easily available to you, but I have given it to the organizing committee and they can easily send it to you, but I want to quote from it. In some cases, intersex traits are visible at birth, while in others, they may not be apparent until puberty. Some chromosomal intersex variations may not be physically apparent at all. It is distinct from a person's sexual orientation and gender identity. An intersex person may be straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, asexual, and may identify as male, female, both, and neither. So we need to probably educate ourselves first. Discriminatory attitudes can never be justified when there is a human rights violation. We need to understand that our actions may be a human rights violation. We are not catering to the parents when they push us for it. We are catering to that child. Now, I want to quote some things because this is the intersex community's voice. I want to quote something. Now, please excuse me if there are some anonymous quotes. Some people are still closeted because, they can't come forward. They have not yet disclosed their true identity. They still identify as male or female because of the norms in our society, our local society.
Dr. Sana, pardon for interruption. Just to clarify, I want your opinion on that. That do you still want to use the term intersex,
Yes.
which has a long debate and considered as a derogatory term
Why?
for all the persons who are the patients or the sufferers of DST disorders?
Let me say that when I voice this, the derogatory term is the term that induces stigma, which is disorder, which is not recognizing them as a variation in humans. If you can see at many flowers, would you say, okay, for example, if I say that, a red rose is the most beautiful, would you negate the fact that there are many roses in other colors? Are they any less beautiful?
But they will be rose. They can't be changed to some sunflower or some
These
jasmine.
people will be intersex, a variation in humans, not a disorder to be seen as something to be fixed. Not everything needs fixing, ma'am. And when I say this is from a 26-year-old guy named Ali, because they obviously did not want to, keep anonymous. For most of my life, my doctors knew more about my body than I did. None of them even took the time to explain my condition to me in depth. I felt confused and alone. Now, another person said, this is Sarah, 20 years old. Doctors need to be honest about the frequency of failures and complications. The rosy picture that was painted for me couldn't have been farther from the truth. About disclosure, these are some of the anonymous quotes. Be honest, I have a right to know about my body. Secrets make me feel like I should feel ashamed of who I am. And then please don't lie to my parents or advise them not to tell me about my body. This happens here, this has happened with my clients too. I'm not as fragile as you may think. I can take the truth. Do not assume. Regarding medical exams, this is something that they want to voice. Brief the nurses and medical staff that is going to get in contact with me. They should know what you're going to do. Don't patronize us by speaking to our guardians instead of us. Talk to us. Ask the patient how they would like the exam to go. Explain to us. Take that time out. It's ridiculous to think genital exams don't bother a child. Even an adult hates them. Don't stick up your fingers up a child's vagina if it's not absolutely necessary. Don't give a genital exam if it's simply for your own curiosity. Don't take pictures of my genitals. Help a child to understand the difference between a genital exam and molestation. This is not spoken about, sir. This is not spoken about, ma'am. Something about communication that they want to say is that being intersex doesn't mean I'll have a certain sexual orientation or identity. Don't assume you know how I will identify later. Just tell me the facts about my body. Don't assume I'm comfortable with the medical term DSD versus intersex. Ask me what I prefer. I could go on and on, ma'am.
Yes, that's why Dr. Sana, I was about to step in. Thank you so much. And we respect their opinion, but may we know that what are their diagnoses and about what age they were addressed for their management? Can we know from you, please? That what was the average age of your clients when they...
Like I said, it says that intersex people may not even know they're intersex because they can come at any age. Yes, with ambiguous genitals, you can find them out earlier with imaging, but that's again not the same as their gender. So like my, ma'am said, that all of them actually said that the surgeries should be delayed so that the gender is clear and there are no further complications.
Okay.
So there is no age. We cannot fixate the age.
Sorry, I want to add something. There are two things.
Sure.
One in the medical condition. Like CH families come to us, 5 kids have died, 10 kids have died because of salt wasting. If we are saying them that they are only the ambiguous genitalia or intersex problems, so that does not cover the whole scenario. There are a lot of CH who are dying. There are lots of CH who are untreated and they die suddenly and they die of cardiac complication, hypertension. So we cannot say them that all of them are badly treated or badly treated by the society, by the doctors. But there are medical conditions which we need to address in the early phase of life. And the DSD term was, when it was coined in 2006 Chicago Consensus, it involved the whole the community which is having intersex community, and everyone said that this term should be used DSD and atypical genitalia because intersex stigmatized them. So this is not that everyone is on the same. At the moment in Pakistan, at least we don't have guidelines for our own society. We are following the guidelines of the European society or the American society, and our cultural norms are totally different. So we need to work on that also. They are a little different from the.
I do agree when there is a medical emergency, that is the first thing that needs to be sorted. If it's a salt wasting thing or if it's any other thing that is there in the condition, then yes, the medical condition needs to be addressed. But we're talking about the surgery that needs to be delayed. So that does not become a priority. The cosmesis is not a priority. The life-saving surgery, if it's a life-saving surgery, sure. If they don't have a urethra, if they don't have a hole to actually pass the excretion out, sure, go ahead, do that surgery. But then anything that involves or later can involve scarring, incontinence, anything of that sort, fibrosis like I mentioned, these things can be delayed. These things, there is no harm in delaying a surgery, and I would like to quote this. The majority of these surgeries are not medically necessary and can be delayed until the individual can participate in the decision. Like Sir said, there is no evidence demonstrating the benefits of cosmetic genital surgery to a child's long-term mental or physical health, nor there is evidence of any risk of delaying the procedure until the individual can decide if they wish to have the surgery or not. In actuality, many intersex people experience multiple adverse side effects from genital surgeries, including scarring, chronic pain, loss of sensation, urinary and sexual dysfunction, and other complications that require repeated follow-up surgeries. Intersex people also report symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, feeling of loneliness, and fear of intimacy. Can you understand something we did while they were an infant has such long-term effects that they can't even be intimate properly? Now that is, furthermore, surgery performed at an early age can assign a genital appearance that does not align with the individual's gender identity. That emerges
Because of the time constraint, Dr. Sana, I'll again come to have your opinion, very precise opinion, rather than your client's perception. Definitely they are important and we respect that. But would you like to share your point of view regarding how to educate the society, and what do you think about these patients who have shared their experience like this, that how they should be treated and how their adjustments in the society can be made easy? And secondly, after this opinion, I would again like to go to Dr. Halima and Dr. Ifat and Dr. Tayyiba as well, that repeatedly stressing upon the term unnecessary surgery. I think the surgeons or the adolescent gynecologist and the pediatric surgeon both, I think, want to contribute over this. So please precisely share your opinion that how the society can be educated, and then I would like to have their opinion as well. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll just be done with this. Okay. I'm so sorry, you want to go first? You can go first. It's all right. You can definitely contribute, and then all right. So I'm going to quote something that an intersex activist, Hida Valoria, has sent me just to voice her concern here. Now it's a very long note, so I'm not going to read out the whole thing. But something that ma'am asked is that Hida thinks that the key is education. Doctors or parents often feel challenged by the birth of an intersex child because modern society has not yet welcomed intersex as a natural sex variation.
May I again interrupt because of the time constraint in the comment? I would again requested you that how we can utilize your role in educating the society for making the life of these families as a whole, because in our society we don't live in isolation as a single entity or individual. The whole society has to face the brunt of this diagnosis. Whatever you say that this is not DSD or this is not a disease or this is not a pathology, but I think you need to be clear upon that transgender is something which is genetically and chromosomally normal beings born, and then later they feel like they have a different gender identity in their mind and they want to change their sex. So propagating that, I think, is not the purpose of this forum. Here we are genuinely concerned with the patients who have a disease entity, who have a pathology at the genetic level, at the gonadal level, and then the hormonal level in expression of their phenotype. And please, I would like to again clarify with pardon from my panelists and from my audience that it's not only the cause disease, it's their functional citizenship, it's their functional survival. And then the major part being a Eastern society and an Islamic society, then their presentation in the society and the presentation of their family in the society. So I would request Dr. Halima, Dr. Ifat and Dr. Tayyaba for the surgical necessity and challenges being faced if they operate upon early, and if Dr. Halima has encountered on the early operated cases and the difficulties she faced. Thank you.
Let me just contribute on the previous talk first, because it is a lot of sensitive and sentimental issue, and I can really relate to what Madam intends to convey, and that's very much taken. If learned people won't take it, then who else will? We really respect all these feelings, no worries about that, there's no doubt. But at the same time, the medical community, the surgeons, the gynecologists, the adolescent physicians are not able to be penalized like this, thinking that they did something for their own gratification. It's not like that. Whatever a physician or a surgeon decides is in the best interest of that patient on that day when that patient presents to our clinic. So ethical dilemma is there. But उस बंदे की वो जो उस दिन की नीयत थी, उस सर्जरी करने से पहले हम उसको शक में नहीं डाल सकते, उस बच्चे की रिजल्ट नहीं था। So I don't say कि वो गलत हो गया उसके साथ, जब वो डॉक्टर ही गलत था, किसी का भी नीयत पे शुबा नहीं है। और ये डायलेमा, ये सेंसिटिविटीज तो उसी दिन शुरू हो जाती है, जो तो अभी अल्ट्रासाउंड से बच्चा पेट में था, वो जिस दिन पैदा हो गया उस दिन तो सोसाइटी, और ये लोग यकीनन इतने एग्रेसिव होंगे, इतने इमोशनल होंगे, they would want to word out. Why not? It's good that you have a page for them. It's good that they are putting up their emotions. It might vent them out. But at the same time, treating the medical emergencies, genuine concerns of population of a lot of women and males is something which also needs to be addressed by the physicians and surgeons together. So here I finish and I request others to comment.
This is very important. This is very important issue. We always need to take time out to talk to these patients, to talk to these girls and boys. This is very important. And but at the same time, as Dr. Halima said, sometimes it's really necessary for a doctor to examine them and to operate upon them. The person coming to us might not understand her own complexity and the problems they are having. I would like to refer to a paper which was written by Dr. Eni Emilia from Malaysia, and it was very interesting, the Islamic perspective of DSDs. I want you all to go and have a look at it, because we can't implement the norms of Western society to our society. LGBT is not acceptable in our society because Islam has its own principles, and definitely gender is the basis of every jurisdiction and every ritual of Islam, from the birth عقیقہ سے لے کے and till the path of deceased person is totally different and is gender identified, gender based. So we cannot implement the norms which can be implemented at West. So in that article and the purpose I read regarding the DSDs, we have Islam has have a clear definition of khunsas and the muhannas. So khunsas are those who are having actual problems, while muhannases are the male who convert themselves into females. So this is totally haram. But the khunsas has again is quite consistent with today's modern thinking and the upcoming literature that we need to wait. Those conditions which are more close to either of the genders, they can be assigned a gender which their appearance is close to, while those in between, Predator 3, 4, 5, maybe we can wait till they grow up and till they come up with their own gender. So I would like to share your.
Thank you. What I think we are not on the same page, to be honest. Everyone is talking about his viewpoint and the way they receive their patients or the people who are already being operated. So everybody has got his own view because he or she is constantly taking those patients with them, and they think about the disease or the process which the patient is going through from their perspective. No one is, because the approach should be holistic. I mean, you cannot divide a patient to a psychiatrist, to a social behaviorist, the endocrinologist, or adolescent or pediatric surgeons. The thing is that we have, I mean, the idea of having this panel discussion was just that we all should be on the same page. Because we are in one hospital, me and Dr. Mohsina, she's pediatric endocrinologist and a pediatric surgeon, and we have got so many discussions and very much clash in our, the treatment, because she keeps on sending patient to me that, please isko operate kar do na, itna mera sar khayega usne. वो बार-बार मेरे पास आता है. Yes, let me clear about it, because she has to face that patient. There are a number of patients, CH patient की हमने जो dates दी हुई होते हैं वो एक साल की दी हुई होती है. Patients grow up, and the parents, they do not, they do not remain at home. They just come again and again to the hospital, to Dr. Mohsina, that when you are going to do this surgery. So you are seeing your patients at adulthood, right? And they are, okay fine. I mean, United Nations is also doing the same thing. They are also not on the same page, because the surgeons, the pediatricians, the endocrinologists, they are not on the same page. They are having their patients and they are dealing with their clientage. Okay, fine. Yes, we agree with it. We have also been through these things. And the point is that when we see our patients and we are operating upon those patients afterwards, I mean, the medical ethics remains the same, whether it is a social behaviorist or endocrinologist or a surgeon or a psychiatrist. But the point is that we have to understand at least each other. The problem is the same, that everyone is doing his own, the perspective they are dealing with. But this agitation or this discomfort which each of us is having is because that we have to face all the things. So, yeah, I think I won't call it an information gap, because yes, we do counseling sessions, number of counseling sessions with the patients, with the kids who have been operated upon, and we are looking at them, but there is disconnect with the social behaviorist at the hospital level, because we do not have any kind of clientage or any kind of discussion forum together. Or this is not something which has to be done during the forum only. We have to sit with the patients. किसी के पास time नहीं है. I mean, everyone is doing their own jobs. हमें पता ही नहीं कि वो जो patient हमारे पास आया है वो کبھی بھی نہیں جائے گا. ہاسپٹل سے ہم نے جن بچوں کو آپریٹ کر کے گھر بھیج دیا, ایک دیر واز اے بوائے جس کو اسکول سے صرف اس نے نکال دیا کہ اس کی جینڈر چینج ہو گئی تھی. انیشلی شی واز ریئرڈ ایز اے گرل, اور پھر اس کی جینڈر چینج ہو کے وہ میل ہو گیا. تو اس کی کلاس ٹیچر جو پرنسپل تھی, انہوں نے کک ہم آؤٹ اس لیے کہ وہ حق کر رہا تھا اپنی فرینڈس کو جا کے. اینڈ آئی روٹ اے لیٹر ٹو دا پرنسپل. آئی کوڈ ناٹ گو بیکاز مجھے یہاں اس ہاسپٹل کے اندر رہ کے وین یو آر ڈیلنگ ود دا پیشنٹ, اتنا نمبر آف پیشنٹ ہوتا ہے, یو کین ناٹ گو ود ایوری ون. سو دیز سوشل بیہیویئرز either they come to the hospital or visit us, and they should not keep the distance, right? Yes, the only thing which is needed is the collaboration, which is absolutely necessary.
There is a difference in each and every case, and on one thing we are on the same page for the betterment of the patient and the family. I think we are on the same page, and we have a support. I just wanted to add one thing. We have a support group of CH children. We call them after every 6 months, and it helps them a lot in settling their issues. We are doing some psychiatric counseling also. बच्चे ऐसे हैं they are very aggressive, and they are in depression, and we are doing research on it. So we have a support group. We are providing them medication free of cost, and their life has, I got notes that हमारी ज़िंदगी बदल गई है जब से हमें medication घर पर मिलने लगी है, and support group has changed a lot. So I think we need to have support groups also, and in that thing we need to keep the privacy and जो अगर बच्चों की जो respect है और जो उनकी अपनी privacy होती है उसको हमें नहीं वो करना. कुछ लोग नहीं disclose करना चाहते अपना ये problem, even they don't want to take the name the things. Even the girls who are CH girls who are married, who are having kids, उन्होंने अपनी फैमिली में डिस्क्लोज नहीं किया, बट दे कम टू अस एंड एंटीनेटल काउंसलिंग हो रही है, एंटीनेटल डायग्नोसिस हो रही है. सो वी नीड टू इंडिविजुअलाइज द पेशेंट्स आल्सो, एंड वी आर डूइंग व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इज फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द पेशेंट एंड द फैमिली. एंड हमारा इसमें
Dr. Mohsina, thank you, and you actually second the point of view of Dr. Halima as well, that whatever time it was chosen by the treating physician and the surgeon, be it a pediatric surgeon or a adolescent gynecologist treating that condition, was in the best interest of the patient. As we are running short of time, just after taking the point of view of Dr. Arif Mateen, I would like to have a quick 3 or 4 questions from the audience, and then we'll sum up this.
One comment here. I totally agree with Tayyiba. I mean, this is a big issue, and we find it difficult to deal with them alone. So what I suggest is a multidisciplinary clinic. If you have a multidisciplinary clinic where you have a psychologist, where you have a surgeon is sitting there, where a pediatrician is sitting there, and obviously an educator is also there, that will resolve this situation to a greater length. I'm not saying it's 100% solution, but it will take care of a lot of problems which we are facing now. So a multidisciplinary clinic is the way forward, at least to some extent. It will resolve the issue.
One thing here I would like to share, and this is, I think every department has this routine, but just sharing that Dr. Jaida Manzoor, our pediatric endocrinologist from the Children's Hospital Lahore, and our assistant professor pediatric endocrinology, Dr. Sumaya, is online. So 3 years back we took the step, and to address these issues, as Dr. Sana has shared their feeling and their concern, we made our DST board at the institutional level, and we included even our institutional law officer on the panel for the difficult to decide cases, or the cases already have been operated upon and now having this feeling. So to face the situation later, as the awareness is coming up, and for some of our patients treated early can come up with a complaint that I don't want it to be at that time this or that. So as Dr. Arifa said, that this panel discussion has a very clear result, and the intention is to promote the MDTs, to form the DST boards at institutional level, involving every of the team member who is like a jigsaw puzzle fitting piece, because without any one of that member, the management cannot be completed.
Dr. Meela?
Sure, sir.
Dr. Khalid Maqsood from Lahore. I every time in every discussion, this topic has been discussed in detail. But still now, there is no protocol of treatment established in Pakistan at which age should be treated or not treated, what to done, what not to be done. In the International Conference of Pediatric Urology in Finland, they claim that as our social media decided, let them to decide. There was Asian sitting and he decided who are you to say why, let them to decide. Why you want to punish the parents, and we are dealing our kid up to 14 years of age, just like it. But then they close the session without decision. And the next I am discussing from endocrinologist Dr. Mosram. There is endocrine changes in the antenatal period. There is hormonal changes and they change the brain. And in the postnatal period, medicine is not available. And the main concerned man at the time of delivery is the pediatrician. Pediatrician is now sitting here. They refer to the patient to the pediatric surgeon, pediatric endocrinologist, but he doesn't know when to refer the patient to the concerned department because that man is missing in our meeting. The second is the time requirement. When to decide to operate, when not to decide to operate. As Dr. Taiba has said, at 1 year of age. I am going to operate at the age of 2 to 3 months of age and follow my patient up till 5 to 6 years. 5 to 6 years, that is my follow-up. Follow-up is very easy when you say that your follow-up will be no cost. You come and examine me. And my follow-up period is 99.9%. And then come to the Dr. Halima. Because here the panelist, there is no pediatric oncologist, the adult persons are sitting here. When the patient come to me, I am working in their medical college. I can name the gynecologists, Professor Ashilti, Professor Balkis Fatma, Professor N.S. Syal, and Dr. Farah, and the other prominent teachers. I work there, but no one going to perform vaginoplasty. No one performed vaginoplasty. And the patients came to you due to loss of menstruation at the age of 14, 16, 20 years. Then who are going to help them? And my question at this point is, why they are grown up to the 14, 18, 16 years of age? Why they are not caught at the early age? Why they are not treated earlier age? Because they are to prevent the mental development, to realign them. That is the initial age. Then Dr. Ifar, gynecologist, change of gender. You are right, that is change of gender. That is the main focus at that point. Who parents and who that man is going to decide, either male or female. But mental growth is there. This is our deficiency period. We have not given the medicine to that because medicine is not available. Medicine is too costly. We never raise the point either these ancillary things are available to our nation or not. And the third, on the road, in which state they are sitting, in which state they are standing on the road, always in the female road, not in the male road. But the parents like them to have a male, everyone to write them as a male. Then, adult, you have sitting in front of us, adult intercourse educator. We are dealing with the kids.
Sir, can you please pinpoint the question?
This is not our point. We are there below 14 years of age. Below 14 years of age. Because mental development is there without in the high level of the endocrines, and then you can send to the intercourse educator. Because he has his own opinion, because she is dealing to the adult, not to the kids. But at this point, we are dealing with our kids from new antenatal period to 14 years of age. What are we are going to deal with? What are the protocols? Have we decided to give the protocol to the pediatric department because every kid is managed post-delivery by the pediatric department?
Sir, may I intervene please, because we are running short of time. I know, as I have mentioned in the start, that this is very sensitive topic. It needs such an elaborate discussion and multiple of such sessions. And that's why this was just a start. And I think each panel member is requested to be in touch again. As Dr. Naima Zami has created a group, I think this shouldn't be ending here. I can sense the excitement and the curiosity and the public questions in my audience mind and with many of the raised hands. But we, with excuse, we cannot take all of the questions as we have to proceed to the next session. But they can have their discussion with the panelists at the lunch or at the spare time. My request is that this should continue. The group created by Dr. Naima Zami, we all members can collaborate in future and we can be the pioneer, the race first drop to bring the change in the society with in time and well in time stepping in of each of the required member at the required time. Whenever a pediatric surgeon or pediatric endocrinologist is needed, when the adolescent gynecologist is needed, when we have the help of the psychiatrist, psychologist and the social
Dr. Nabila, I just want to add few very short comments. Firstly, it is a gender discrimination that all the ladies are sitting. There's one psychiatrist who is there for our help. Gynecology. That the pediatric gynecology should be a separate subspecialty in the subject. As regards the madam, I don't know what's your name. You said that it's a very difficult to assign gender just after birth. The gynecologist is the main person who can tell the parents that this is a male or a female child. So duty starts from you, number one. Number two, the pediatrician is there. Thirdly, ultrasonic diagnosis is totally wrong because it should not be dependent upon. Even after the birth, the uterus is not visible to the normal sonologist. So they should be trained in doing those ultrasonographies. As you mentioned that delayed gender should be assigned. I am totally against it. The mother who has given birth to the child, the father who is given to the birth of the child, that particular child is the who suffers the most actually. I think the name should be given within 24 hours. And that is there is a difference between Europe and us. We are a community जहाँ खुसरा पैदा हो जाता है तो सारी गांव में तबाही मच जाती है और गुरुज फिर रहे होते हैं कि उस बच्चे को जो इंटरसेक्स बच्चा है उसको उठा के ले जाएं. हमारे रूरल एरियाज के अंदर ये हो रहा है. तो what we need to do is we need to assign them early gender and do early genitoplasty in case of female gender assignment and late vaginal plasty like at the age of menarche, because this Begando procedure has gone now. We have been doing this colonic transposition as vaginal reconstruction for the last 15 years. We, Dr. D.K. Gupta and Dr. Salim, we have been doing this. So these were my few. What about if you send a child to a school, my own child, who is a trans, BSG or intersex or whatever, in the school? I just displayed a picture of a girl, Amna. She studied from a high school in the girl, and she came to me with her father that she wanted to commit suicide. Where are the psychiatrists in the periphery? Who will do it? We are the people who become psychiatrists, mothers, fathers, and these hormone specialists, and etc. So if you want to make a team of it, it should be made as a team of the whole country, not Karachi of Lahore, the big cities.
Our society is transforming now. We are westernized now. In Pakistan, none of the pediatric surgeons, none of the gynecologists appeared in the Supreme Court of Pakistan when the hearing was there. That's right of the transgender to be registered with the NADRA. So point is who we are to assign the gender. No. It's very rightly said that it's the right of that child.
Yes.
Excluding the medical and lately I do the surgery on the 8 bigger genitalia, 4 girls and they are basically undergoing sensitive.
I would consult Professor Salim who wants to say something. Then Professor Umar Farooq will end.
डिस्कशन में बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ना चाहता, देखने की बात क्योंकि इस दफा सेक्रेटरी हेड साहब हमारे पास आए तो उन्होंने कहा पहली दफा पंजाब असेंबली में एक क्वेश्चन रेज हुआ कि हाउ टू डील विद द जेंडर ऑफ सेक्स असाइनमेंट ऑफ दिस ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल। वो कहने लगे हमारे पास रोज हम सवालों के जवाब देते हैं असेंबली में जो होते हैं। कहता कि मुझे पहली दफा लगा कि किसी असेंबली के मेंबर ने सेंसिबल सवाल किया है। तो मेरा आपसे ये हम्बल सबमिशन ये है कि यहाँ डिस्कशन हमने बहुत दफ़ा की है, हमें इसको एक ग्रेटर फोरम पे जाना चाहिए। डॉक्टर जफर नज़ीर ने एक दफ़ा प्रेजेंटेशन दी थी तो इस्लामिक लॉज सऊदी अरेबिया के डिस्कस किए थे, हमने भी उनको उनका रेफरेंस दिया तो वो कहने लगे कि हमारे अपने लॉ होने चाहिए। तो हमें इसको असेंबली के लेवल पे लेना चाहिए और वहाँ से इसको प्रॉपर्ली एड्रेस करना चाहिए और ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ रिजॉल्व करनी चाहिए। हमें ग्रुप बनाना चाहिए जो असेंबली को गाइड कर सके। Thank you.
Sir, just for a minute, and then I will listen to Professor Umar Farooq. And then we will sum up.
I heard everybody, and it seems everybody is right with different views. But there is something that has happened in India which I must share with you. You see, unlike being a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, a very, very liberal Hindu, and I'm okay with that teaching me or whatever. If my child wants to do anything like that, I will not obstruct, okay? But having said that, what happened was that some activists, which are usually an NGO supported by media, and I can see somebody also sitting on the line next to the male analyst there. She's speaking in the same language, yeah. He's speaking in the same language. Now what they did, they went to Madras High Court, and Madras High Court did not even bother to involve the doctors, the pediatric surgeons, and they took out an order that in Tamil Nadu, nobody would do any gender reassignment surgeries till they are girls and they will decide. I've worked in Europe, I've worked in USA, I've worked in Australia, so I've got that kind of outlook in life. But to have a child whose gender is not decided and to bring that child up till the age of 18. By the way, we Indians, Pakistanis, we support our children right up to they are even 60. You know, when they grow up, we take care of the grandchildren. People. So to bring them up with an undecided gender till 18 years, it is almost impossible. And I agree with Dr. Jubair to that extent. Yes, the ground realities are still very different from what is being discussed in UN, what has been decided. I was in UK when these rules had come up about, you know, doing gender assignment at the age of 18, etc. So you need to sit down with all kind of different views and make laws locally which are acceptable to the most. You can't just copy paste whatever is being discussed in Europe and America. You see, and let us not confuse these patients of BSD with those who want to have gender reassignment I'm talking about LPGB, that category, who did not have any anatomical or physiological issues to start with, they did not have any medical problems. I'm absolutely okay to have independence on those accounts. I have nothing against them. I support them. If somebody will ask me to come to their rallies and whatnot that happen in India so often, I would probably go there. But to take away the right of a pediatric surgeon and the parents to decide about gender reassignment, making and quoting what has been discussed in USA and Europe is really not fair. You need to discuss it locally and then work it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A very senior pediatric surgery. After having this opinion, I end this discussion with excuse from everyone who wants to say something or to ask
मुझे अपने रेजिडेंट्स के लिए बात करना मुझे अपने रेजिडेंट्स के लिए बात करना ये टॉपिक इतना मुश्किल नहीं है मुश्किल कहाँ पर ये टॉपिक इतना मुश्किल नहीं है जब एक के पास 2 लोग हों तो मुश्किल हो जाता है जब 8 लोग हों तो बहुत ही मुश्किल हो जाता है एक्चुअल कंफ्यूजन इसलिए 8 लोग हर आदमी अपनी अपनी बोली बोल रहे हैं हमें कुछ भी नहीं करना हमें ये देखना कि नेचर हमें एक्सप्लोर करना है कि नेचर उसको लड़का बना रही थी या लड़की बना रही थी हमारा सिर्फ इतना रोल है अब कैरियोटाइपिंग कराइए इन्वेस्टिगेशन करवाइए हार्मोनल टेस्ट कराइए और देखो नेचर क्या लेके आ रही थी और कहाँ कहाँ अटक गया है जब कहाँ अटक गया है वहाँ देखो कि आपके हाथ देखो कि आपके हाथों में अल्लाह ने कितना फन दिया क्या आप कर सकते हो नहीं कर सकते हो तो फिर आप देख लीजिए साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास सेक्स काउंसलिंग के लिए बड़ा आसान है पहले देखो नेचर क्या बना रही थी काउंसलिंग कर दो कि वो लड़का बना रही थी यहाँ रुक गया है काम फिर देखो कि हम में से कौन है जो उसको सही लड़का या सही लड़की बना सकता है जो बना सकता है उसको पकड़ा दो लो जी डॉक्टर साहब आप बनाइए नहीं बना सकता तो फिर काउंसलिंग के लिए इट इज वेरी सिंपल
for such a nice and active contribution, and my again request is that this should not be an end. This should be the start, and each member sitting in the hall, go back to your institution, go back to your departments, start creating DST boards, start having MDTs regularly, like here it happened like at CHIC Lahore, it regularly a phenomena, and the contribution from there is continuously coming in the chat. So I think the bottom line is that we all need to contribute, we all need to play our role at appropriate time when and where it is needed. Thank you so much.
I still want to say something.
Okay.
Even after conclusion, that at the end of any kind of discussions, please reach to some point. Do not end it like a bookish sentence. That there should be.
It is not bookish, Dr. Sahiba. We really need to have
constantly it was discussed. I mean, there was some aspects which were needed to be discussed, but it went on very diverted. It's really diverted. I mean, they have brought the issues of money, the issues of non-availability of the medicine, the issue of that non-availability of the doctors or psychologists. We were here to discuss an issue which everyone is dealing with. Right now, the panelists who are sitting here, they are dealing with the problem, right? But we could not reach any consensus at the end of this discussion. So every panel discussion should end somewhere, and we should have some take-home message so that next discussion will be started from there.
No, may I say something that somehow that discussion lingers for okay, Dr. Halima first.
So the consensus over here, the conclusion or the whatever discussion end here is that we are ready to work together. We are ready to work together. There are so many brains who want to work for it. There are so many activists, so many professional people who want to work for it, and this is the way forward. Bringing conclusions to everything and one step is not always important. We are together here, and I must congratulate the Pediatric Association of Surgery for having this forum, for creating awareness among people and having so many people sit together and think this is a problem. Yes. बम फाड़ने के अलावा भी दुनिया में बहुत सारे मसले हैं, उसको भी सोचा जा सकता है कि उस फैमिली का बम होगा ये, तो हमें इस
This is the beginning of a new journey, inshallah. Thank you so much.